Hello and assalamu alaikum. This is Asnath Ahmed. I'm going to teach you introduction to sociology. I would like to tell you about some basic concepts of sociology initially in some of the few lectures. Then we will obviously cover some of the more complex topics as we move further. In today's lecture, we have to cover what is sociology, meanings of sociology, and origin and development of sociology. So let's move towards the first slide. So what is sociology? Sociology, as a layman, if we would like to discuss about the sociology, anybody can say that it is about the study of society. If anybody will have no idea about what is sociology, and if I would once tell them about that there is a subject and its name is sociology and it's all about the society, whatsoever is there in the society will come under the discussion of sociology, so he will be able to tell you that sociology is all about the society. But as being a layman, we can only discuss about some of the very basics of sociology. So just get into the depth of sociology's definition. I would like to introduce this subject, this phenomena through some of the very most famous and renowned sociologists. So I had taken an account of different sociologists, classical sociologists, to just elaborate the definition of sociology. For example, the first one that I would like to introduce you for defining sociology is Auguste Comte. Now, who was Auguste Comte? He is considered as actually the founder of the modern sociology as well. I would elaborate this person in the next slides, some of the next slides even. So, sociology, in his opinion, is basically the study of scientific study of society. So, why scientific study? How can we explore the social phenomena scientifically? He was the one who actually believes that each single investigation of the social issue, the social phenomena, can be made empiricistically, scientifically. Investigations of the social phenomena can be made. For example, I would like to tell you that if somebody will say that there is a lot of poverty in the society, it would be a qualitative statement now, which cannot be proved scientifically. Now, if somebody will say that 40% of the total population is basically living a life below the poverty line, now it has some percentiles with it. It has some of the numerics or some of the digits with it that can either be proven scientifically by conducting social researches, by making some surveys, by having some interviews through the population. So ultimately, it can be proven that if it is quite valid or reliable that 40% of the total population is living a life below the poverty line, so in that scenario, we could say that social phenomena can be studied scientifically. So in Auguste Comte's opinion, sociology is the scientific study of the society. The next one is Max Weber. So who Weber was actually, he was also a German scholar, and he has also taken some very in-depth studies of the society. He said about sociology that it is basically the study of social actions. Actions, as you people know, that it is about doing something. Whatsoever we are doing in the society will come under the study of sociology. Uh, for example, the actions can either be positive or negative. It can be for the saving a life or even can for taking a life. So whatsoever, whether a minor or a major task, whether a positive or a negative one, we are doing in the society will be a discussion of the sociology. The next one is Emile Durkheim. Emile Durkheim was basically a sociologist of morality. He was very much concerned about the moral health of the society, and he had also taken some very deep rooted researches of that time in the European societies. He said about the sociology that it is about the study of social facts through social institutions. Facts are basically the realities of the society without which we cannot imagine the progress of society. And through some social institutions, social institutions are family, for example, education, for example, your mass media, religion, politics, and so on. So, in his opinion, we have to study the social realities through the social institutions. For example, I would just like to give you an example of a social fact which we are generally on day-to-day basis learn through some of the very basic to the complex social institutions. Language. Language is one of the social facts that we have to learn throughout our life. We have just with one language after our birth, that is our mother tongue, but in throughout our life we have to learn different many languages just to keep our existence in the society alive, so that we can interact with so many people and we can understand them and we can move the society dynamically progressive. So we have to learn the language through our family. Family is a social institute. We have to learn this from our education, through our religion, through our mass media, through politics, whatsoever. So this is one of the reality that we have to learn through some of the social institution, and altogether it will become the study of sociology. Finally, I would like to discuss the sociology through the Simel's definition, George Simel, and he said that it is basically the study of social groups on the basis of their social interactions. Groups are also important because society is not consisted of a single individual. It is basically an amalgamation of the people. It is basically a collection of people who always in interactive mode to make it learn for themselves as well as for other people. So groups and their cohesions and their bonding and their existence by their interaction will be the study of sociology. Hopefully you understand the definitions of the sociology. So upon the basis of all these definitions, we have to conclude these definitions that it is basically the sociology is basically the science of society, human behavior, human interaction, and relationships. Sociology is all about the science of society and about the human behavior as well as human interaction and the relationships of it. Meanings of sociology. People who do know about biology or some other natural sciences will have an idea about so many words that infer from some other languages. Like biology is basically a derivation of bios and logos. Similarly, the term sociology is basically been derived from two words, the Latin and the Greek word. The Latin word socius means companionship, and the Greek word logos means study. So, in literal meanings, we can define sociology as a study of human companionship or association or society. So, altogether, it will be a study of the companionship or the association or the society. Well, sociology has a deep history. Uh, as soon as I would just like to say that societies been flourished, sociology may not be as a discipline, may not be as a subject, may not be properly taught over there, but it was there because uh, inception of the societies actually will give the knowledge to sociology. But I would just like to introduce sociology's history from the time when it was being first introduced as a word sociology in 1838. So we would just discuss the history of sociology from the 1838 till onwards. So it was Comte, a French philosopher, a French sociologist, who coined the word sociology for the first time in 1838 in his book Positive Philosophy. And in his book, in this book, Positive Philosophy, he actually tell us about the evolution of the societies in different phases. It's been different kind of stages through which the today's society has basically been evolved. And he believed that we actually had traveled from the mythological phase till scientific age. So ultimately, it is quite possible and desired that we can study the social phenomena systematically, scientifically, and make their observations and classification on the basis of scientific evidences. So each single phenomena happen in the society may be and can be studied scientifically, in his opinion. The next one is Herbert Spencer. Herbert Spencer wrote a book, Principles of Sociology, in 1876, and he was of the viewpoint about the evolution of society over the time. He opted this basically from the organic evolution of Darwin. He was so much impressed by him actually, and he was so much impressed by the slogan of the Darwin, that was survival of the fittest. And let me tell you that at that time Darwin was of the viewpoint that only those creatures will survive who will have the best tendencies to cope with the environmental changes happening around themselves. He turned that whole theory upon the human society and developed a grand theory of social evolution, and tell us that only those human beings, or only those groups, or only those societies will survive who will have the best tendencies to cope with the social changes happening around. It's not now been environmental changes but social changes. It means we have to live up with the era, we have to live up with the time, we have to live up with the changes been happening around. We have to accept different innovations ultimately if we have to sustain uh, in the list of societies. So whosoever is not been capable to adopt a change may not be able to live for so long as a society. The next one is an American sociologist, Lester F. Ward, and he wrote a book, Dynamics of Sociology, in 1883. In his opinion, if we have to give progress, the society, social progress, it can be possible through an intelligent social action. And these obviously intelligent social actions will be guided by the sociologists. It is really an interesting kind of verse, that intelligent social action. You people, if would study the history of some very recent past, and especially of the Second World War, when the most part of the world was being destroyed due to the calamities of the war. It was America. It was America who was even been not aligned with different countries, but still was there to rehabilitate them. Except it was Eastern Germany and USSR who had not received any of the aid from America in terms of rehabilitation of their societies. Rest of the whole European and American societies had received so much from America to rehabilitate them. Now it was the intelligent social action. Just to get flourish the societies, just to get flourish themselves, it was necessary to move on rather than promoting the grievances, the grudges. Similarly, Japan was almost totally destroyed in the Second World War. Germany was like that. England was like that. But they had focused a lot. They had actually adopted so many intelligent social actions by the advices of that social scientist of that time. And Japan was never ever been in the list of making some nuclear weapons. Rather, they actually focused on the human capital just to make themselves strong. Same was the case of Germany as well. Initially, they had focused the human capital just to make them strong. So they actually ultimately adopted the social, intelligent social action in order to make them progressive. Durkheim, another, I had already told you that he was a very deep investigator of the society's issues. So he wrote a book of research in 1895, Sociological Methods, in which he demonstrated scientific methodology in sociology, and he gave a very informative theory about the suicide in 1897. Oh, it was a very very interesting kind of phenomena and theory, in which he actually elaborated the some of the social currents which actually give rise the rates of suicide. For example, it was integration and regulation, because of which rate of suicide can either be increases or decreases. Integration was the strength of attachment, whereas regulation was the strength of regulation, and or the external constraints. You can either may say this is the external constraint. So on the basis of integration, he categorized suicide into egoistic suicide and altruistic suicide, whereas on the basis of regulation, he categorized suicide into uh, anomic and fatalistic suicide. So egoistic suicide is basically the uh, having no attachment with the cause, having no attachment with the society or with the people, due to which a person can commit suicide. Whereas altruistic is basically the excessive altruism, excessive attachment towards any of the part of the society or towards any goal. Whereas egoistic is basically the absence of the regulation upon an individual or the group of people, whereas fatalistic is basically the excess of the regulation, like slavery. In 1890s, uh, sociology was being started as an academic discipline in different universities. Initially, it was being taught as an academic discipline in Americans university first. 1895, it has been started its publications. It had been started its publications in some of the journals, like American Journal of Sociology. Journal is basically a platform where different researchers can publish their researches, their point of views. And American Sociological Society, now basically termed as American Sociological Association, is basically organized in 1905. Initially, European sociologists were from history, political economy, and philosophy background, whereas American sociologists were social workers, ministers, or ministers' son. It has also shown that the richest parts of those societies, in terms of their researches or having a background towards the social phenomena. Initially, what sociologists were doing was basically doing something that was being created as grave social problems due to urbanization and industrialization, and they were suggesting some solutions against those problems. They were giving some of the advices. They were not actually emphasizing upon some concrete scientific solutions of the problems of those times. Rather they actually had given advices to the capitalists, especially of that time. For example, a very famous article of that time was "Working 8 hours a day," in which they actually suggest a remedy against the workers who were performing giant size tasks in a daytime. They were doing 14 to 16 hours a day, due to which they may be able to work for a very limited time. So they suggested the capitalists to categorize these shifts into three slots of the day, 8 hours, for example, so that they may earn larger profits, as well as the workers may can run the businesses, they can run the working activities for a longer time as well. But after the 1930s, sociologists started to see the scientific descriptions. Against every single social problem, they suggest a scientific solutions. Hopefully, you people had have a good time with this lecture. If there is any problem, you may actually highlight through different mediums. I would elaborate in some further lectures. Thank you.